as the duct system. Let's see.
I was going to say amen, but different.
Huh?
I was going to say amen, but different area.
Sure.
Nobody wants to touch that.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's, yeah. You got all the fiberboard, all the duct board. Mm-hmm. All right. I might have, let's see. Oh, okay. So, has anybody ever been asked, all right, so I need you to come give me this quote, but while you're here, I've got my master suite's always hot. And so I need a quote. I've got that 3-ton, it never worked, it ran all the time. I want a 3.5, a 4, a 5, or whatever they're asking for. But I need a vent in that bedroom. I need to add another vent to my master bedroom. Has everybody been asked to solve a problem by adding an extra supply outlet? Yeah? Did it solve it? No. Why? We added more air. Should have, right? No.
No return.
Huh? Well, yeah, no return. So, did we do Miss Jones a service by spending her money? No. So, yeah, we got to fix the problem. We got to test it. And so if someone's asking you to do something, they want you to give them a price on it because they're terrified of how much it's going to cost. But in reality, they want you to tell them, what do I need to do? Like, I'm uncomfortable. They have a problem. They want to solve it. They don't know how to ask for it because they don't know what they're asking for. But we're professionals, and so we can do this. And so right now in the room, does anybody have a method for determining if that room needs more air? Tim?
There's this little card called a roomulator.
Sure.
We should all have.
So everyone actually received a roomulator in your package. If you didn't know what that is, it's a little business card looking thing. That's the Energy Conservatory. That's Chris Hughes' brainchild right there. Whoop, whoop. And
I said that because I know he's listening.
right. Yeah. So that is a tool that you use in conjunction with a precision manometer so that you can determine the amount of exchange that you need to allow that room to operate. Does anybody have a blower door, duct tester, precision manometer in the room? Yeah, some? What's that?
Airflow hood.
Airflow hood's good, but that's not going to answer this question. And, it's fantastic, and I'm proud of you. Not very many people will invest. That's a great tool to have. So we're tasked with this problem, and it's a free quote, the industry standard. I don't want to invest any money in you because you're just out here to take everything that I worked hard for. One thing you can do that costs you nothing because you've already invested in all this because you love your career and all yada, 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 fun stuff, and you give scholarship money to Bill Spohn and his family. Yeah. So this little guy is the DG8. It's a precision manometer. It's for reading what I finally call like a gnat's fart of air. It's a very, very small amount of air, but it doesn't take a lot of pressure to create a lot of force on a building. And one thing that you can do, if you don't have this, get one. Put it in your budget. Do whatever you got to do. If you have one, buy more. Give it to everybody. It's a great tool. It can be used for so many different purposes.
What would you say is an acceptable pressure difference room to room before you start making big changes? Do you have any number, or is it job to job it changes?
Well, no, it's not necessarily job to job. So an industry standard would tell you 3 pascals.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, that would be an industry standard. I would tell you go for 0.
Just a note, the HVAC school podcast, me and Brian did a whole subject on the roomulator.
Okay.
And I cover all of that in that podcast.
Okay.
If you want to check
Yeah.
it out.
Thank you.
It's an existing podcast or just different?
It's just on his podcast
List.
Yeah, it's
It's on his list. It's
But I sorry, I don't want to.
No, you're good. You're good.
It's just,
It's good stuff.
Talk about what happens at 2, what happens at 5, is 12 too much? We kind of go over all that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go full blown into every little aspect of it. Just know there's a lot of information out there. There's a great Facebook community. If anybody's on Facebook, you can go to the HVAC Grapevine, ask questions, and they'll dump. They will fill you full of knowledge. But to this, if they're calling and they want more air in the room, and you have one of these tools, you can just simply take a hose, put it to it, toss it underneath the door, shut the door while the HVAC is running. Is the room underneath a positive pressure or a negative pressure? If it's underneath the positive pressure, if I add more air to it, it's not going to do anything. Or I guess it could, depending on how much I can push out of that room, but not the results that you were looking for. And so it wasn't adding a supply that they needed. It was opening the door or giving it a pathway. If you don't have this tool, fun fact, all you need to do is kind of start to shut the door. You ever been in a house, turn the HVAC on, and all of a sudden you heard boom, boom, boom. Every door in the house shut. All right? Like, red flags. Stop the conversation there. Now you have the, by stopping and listening and looking, you will see all of these problems that they didn't know exist. I had a builder tell me that the reason that happened is because he built such a good house. He built such a good, tight house that it just slammed every door in the house whenever the air conditioner come on. That's not how that works. Who here knows what the largest duct is in the house? I'm not giving it to you. The house. The house is the largest duct. It's not the return. That's the second. Should be the second largest duct. I was informed earlier today that it is not the largest duct, and that's also pretty much true. Every system would just about benefit from increasing return. So at any rate, it's time to shine at those moments whenever they tell you these things. Grab your tools and in fact, walk into the sales call with your tools. Don't walk in with a pen and paper. Pen, paper, and a tape measure, you're there to take their money. Pen, paper, tape measure, laser, whatever, and one of these, and you're there to solve problems. So let's solve problems. That's what they want us to do. You don't want to, and I guess I didn't say this earlier in the other class, and they brought it to my attention. Right there, right now, you're there for a sales call. You are not there to solve their problems. They have not invested. Don't give away the ship for free. Don't give them the farm. This didn't cost you anything per se, holding the door almost shut and let the air conditioner come on, but it opened the door for you to solve their problems. Because they saw something, they felt something, they know that there's something wrong, and you're also the weird, crazy guy who's bringing this to their attention. And if that wasn't enough to kind of sell them that they needed to investigate, start just poking at different things. Like, oh, okay, so I see this dust rim around this door, but it looks like you keep an exceptionally clean house. Like, what would cause that? And they're going to want you to investigate. Now it's time to shine. You get paid. So we're going to go out there and we're going to get paid to evaluate, assess, test the home. And only in doing so can we deliver exceptional results. But you have to get paid for your time. Learn at your house first, and then go get paid for it all. Let's click to the next. All right. Does anybody know anything about these things? Yes, sir. All right. So Manual J, obviously, that's what guides us on sizing of a system. And that's going to help us determine how many BTUs we need to add, remove to make the space comfortable everywhere. Manual S is going to guide us in equipment selection. It's not good enough to do a Manual J and not a Manual S. If you're on the fence on it, I would tell you get off the fence. If you're going to do one, do the other. Otherwise, it's still shooting in the dark. Equipment, obviously, as most know, equipment is no longer the equipment we used to have. It is much different, and it's important to ensure that that equipment delivers. Not all 3 tons are the same. Manual D, anybody? Critically important. That's how we're going to decide or design our duct system. The one that never gets any good attention is the last one. It's small. It's like this big. There's hardly anything in it, but it matters. We are getting into the heat pump revolution and likely the great revolt and everything else. One of the things that I commonly hear, and maybe y'all can chatter in on this, chime in, but heat pumps don't work. I don't like them, they blow cold. Well, how do they know that they're blowing cold? That we're blowing air on people. You should never blow air on people. You blow air on Ed's head, Ed is mad. Jack Rice told us, do not blow air on people. Right here, if you're sitting in this classroom, you're probably freezing. All right, because these grills, GRDs, whatever you want to call them in your market, registers, diffusers, they're terrible. That air's just in bleh. It's falling right on top of you. That's uncomfortable. Doesn't mean that, it's Carrier's fault or Daikin's fault or it's whoever designed that. Shame on them. Manual T, I feel, needs to be critically reviewed by everyone in the room as they are introducing heat pumps into their market and to their clients. You don't want to blow air on people during a defrost cycle in general, ever. Now, that's not to say that, the right grill selection is going to solve all your problems either, but it will solve a lot. Has anybody ever walked in, or maybe even at your own house, noticed a blanket on an easy chair, a couch, any of that sort? Those are red flags. If you see an easy chair with a blanket laying on it, that's a red flag. They either have a manual T issue or a manual J issue. Because if the equipment's improperly sized, it's banging on and off. And if the grill's improperly selected and put in a terrible spot, it's blowing air on that occupant. Air conditioner turns on, cover up, air conditioner turns off. I'm hot in here, it's this piece of junk. No, it's just nobody thought through the process. If you haven't, then I would suggest that you get to know these manuals. And if you need help, guidance, obviously there's an entire organization around that. And there's some amazing trainers out there. One of my good friends, Alex Meany, he is, when it comes to load designs and just better understanding of these things, he's worth every penny. So plug free to Alex right there. Let's see. We're gonna click this, maybe? We're still in it, all right. Still in the Manual J stuff. Okay, this is who people think they're getting. And oftentimes, this is how their equipment's being sized. And that's dumb. Now, I joked earlier that this is who they think they're getting, this is who my wife thinks that I should still be, because we were all doing this. Maybe not everybody in this room, but I'll raise my hand and say that we guessed. I showed up, I had my clipboard, measured, and yeah, it ran all the time. Yeah, sure, yeah, it's too small. Too small for your house. Once I started doing the heat gain, heat loss calculations on homes, do you know how many systems I have found that were undersized? Any guess? 3, 0, 1.
Got one.
1. I have found one system that was undersized.
How many rows?
All. I can't specifically remember any one of them ever being properly sized. And if it was properly sized, it didn't follow Manual S. And so Get to know the manuals. If you need that chart, there's also that sales class right down the road. Go to that one. I think they use that there. But, and just always remember whenever you are using it, that if the curb is not available, just ask the homeowner where the curb should be. That way you know that you're far enough away to use the chart properly. But that's what people have come to expect. They don't expect somebody to go in there and test things. They expect somebody to show up and they're clean and they have this process and they have this brochure or a nice cool tablet or whatever it is. And so that's who they think they're getting whenever you walk through the door. Don't be that guy. Show up with your manometer. Be a nerd. This is who they get instead. So they're going to get somebody who's going to take a look. You want to be invested. Invest. So, for instance, this top right corner of some beautifully laid drywall, that's a kitchen ceiling in a new construction home. And they're suffering with, it's always hot in the kitchen. So weird. Maybe they need that mini split.
Yep.
Or we could, fix the house.
Is that you in the center?
That is me in the center. That is me in the center. That was a tiny hole. But these are all examples of whenever I got called in to go give a quote, or, the master bedroom's hot and all these different things. And instead of just looking at the box, I looked at the house. And so, now that's a dryer vent on a roof. Obviously not everybody deals with that, but that is ventilation, and so whatever. But a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, they don't build them as good as they used to, and I just jokingly say, you're absolutely correct, they build them better. The problem is that we're just getting dumber. We just keep on doing stupid stuff, like putting a laundry hood on the roof with a screen to catch everything and clog up. And so that's why your dryer fails. And Brian Orr touched on this yesterday, and I'll add to it. Whenever you're replacing the equipment, you have an opportunity to right the wrongs of the past, like I said earlier. Don't do this. This is dumb. Stop doing dumb stuff. We had an opportunity here. Move it. Make it serviceable. I tell all of my guys that whenever I'm installing something, the way that I look at it, the way I envision it, is my son or daughter, ideally, if they choose to mess up and follow daddy, I want to make their life simpler. That's not making their life simpler. And honestly, you didn't even make your own job simpler. It's still tough. There was no good reason to do it. Stop doing dumb stuff. The necks, that unit's always dirty and yada, yada, yada. Well, perhaps we should have taken that package out and put the plugs on. Or actually, they came shipped with the plugs. Maybe we should have just kept them on. Little things, that hot bedroom, well, maybe it's because it's connected to the attic. And that's a hot wall that's just bare drywall. Take a look at the house. They don't need a bigger unit. They need to fix the house. We cannot design a system, and they talk about this in Manual J, based off of somebody else building shoddy construction. And it's not to say that we're responsible for that, but we are responsible for comfort. And we can't deliver comfort if that's what you got. So we have to address it. It's not our job, but we have to address it.
Dustin, I'd like to add, those two grommets missing, I've tested that.
Yeah.
That's about 20 CFM of leakage.
Yep. And, who cares about 20 CFM?
I care about it at 135 degrees.
Yeah, there you go. For every 1 CFM in equals how many out?
Yeah.
So, seal this stuff up and read the manuals. All of the answers are in them. They really are. Oftentimes, most of the questions that I get can be answered by opening the book.